Distinguished speakers, Ms. Sapna Kapoor, State Information Officer, Maharashtra, National Informatics Center, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Mr. Umesh Madhyan, Member, CII, National Committee on Logistics and Chief Operating Officer of Leap India Limited. Dr. K. Ganesh, Member, CII Committee on Logistics and Partner McKinsey and Company, and Mr. Wolfgang Flescher, Supply Chain Experts, Germany, McKinsey and Company. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the Summit on Technology, Automation and Robotics in Supply Chain. And the theme for this year is the Smart Logistics Trinity, AI, Robotics and Data. Let me introduce the guest on the dais first. It's my great pleasure to welcome Ms. Sapna Kapoor, State Information Officer, Maharashtra, National Informatics Center, Ministry of Information and Technology. With over 3 years of experience in IT and e-governance, Ms. Sapna Kapoor has been at the forefront of shaping digital initiatives in India. She has led several mission-critical projects that has enhanced citizen services and strengthened public sector IT systems. Her career reflects a strong commitment to harnessing technology for transparent, efficient, and inclusive governance. She holds a master's degree in computer science from the Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology. Welcome you, madam. Hearty welcome to Mr. Umesh Madhyan, Member, CII National Committee on Logistics and Chief Operating Officer, Leap India. Mr. Umesh Madhyan is the COO of Leap India, brings over 20 years of leadership experience. He's previously held roles at Hindustan Coca-Cola Beverages, the Coca-Cola Company, Kraft Heinz, and L'Oreal, specializing in supply chain transformation, operational excellence, and innovative solutions. Let me extend a warm welcome next to Dr. Ganesh, Member CII National Committee on Logistics and Partner McKinsey. Dr. Ganesh specializes in logistics and supply chain transformation for various industry verticals, including auto, consumer, and chemicals, specializing in supply chain and logistics transformation. He has over 22 years of research and consulting experience. Also happy to welcome Mr. Wolfgang Flescher, Supply Chain Expert, Germany, McKinsey and Company. He's a supply chain expert with McKinsey, Germany, bringing over a decade of consulting experience. He specializes in manufacturing supply chain practice with deep expertise in physical flows, including warehousing and transportation. Let me talk about CII Institute of Logistics. We all know India's ambitious goal of becoming a 7 trillion economy by 2030 and relies on efficient movement of goods, with logistics and supply chain sector playing a pivotal role. As a significant contributor to GDP and a major driver of job creation, this industry holds immense potential for our national growth. CII Institute of Logistics is the center of excellence established by CII, serves as a collaborative platform bringing together policymakers, industry, academia, training centers, and aspirants to aim at equipping professionals with essential skills for the evolving logistics and supply chain industry. In this context, the CII Institute of Logistics launched Logistics for All, engaging all stakeholders with a vision to position India as a global logistics hub. One of the major events that CII Institute of Logistics conducts is the Scale Awards, and the 12th Scale Award is scheduled on 4th and 5th December in Hyderabad this year. We are very happy to invite the industry fraternities to participate in this. CII Institute has in addition to that, CII Institute of Logistics has a talent pool of over 100 industry-trained MBA graduates specializing in logistics and supply chain management, looking for placement opportunities across the country. In the last 10 years, all students were absorbed successfully by industry, and a sincere thanks for the unwavering support. We look forward for continued support this year as well. I mean, in my previous organization, we had recruited a lot of such budding graduates, MBA graduates from these, and they had done exceedingly well. So all the industry professionals, please do utilize this opportunity to go to their placement and, pick up the bright candidates. Now, let me talk about the summit on automation, technology, and robotics. For several decades, logistics operations relied on manual operations. All of us are practitioners, we know about it, and very siloed systems. There were different systems, but it was all siloed, not very interconnected. However, the increasing complexity and velocity of modern supply chains have exposed the limitations of these traditional approaches, leading to inefficiencies, higher cost, and reduced agility. The need for real-time visibility, predictive capabilities, and adaptive operational models has become paramount for businesses seeking to maintain a competitive edge. In response to these challenges, a wave of technological advances is rapidly permeating the logistics landscape. The integration of sophisticated software solutions, coupled with the increasing affordability and capability of automation and robotic systems, is creating unprecedented opportunities for optimization. From intelligence warehouse management systems that leverage artificial intelligence to autonomous vehicles poised to revolutionize transportation, these technologies offer the potential to unlock significant gains, accuracy, and cost effectiveness. The interconnected nature of modern supply chain necessitates a holistic approach to technology adoption. Isolated implementation of individual solutions are no longer sufficient. The true power, therefore, lies in the seamless integration of various technologies, from IoT sensors providing real-time data to predictive analytics enabling proactive decision-making, and from robotic process automation, streamlining administrative tasks to autonomous robots handling physical operations. This evolving landscape presents both immense opportunities and significant challenges for logistics and supply chain professionals. Staying abreast of the technological advancements, understanding their practical applications, and developing effective implementation are crucial for navigating the transformation successfully. This summit is designed to provide a comprehensive overview of these critical trends, offering the knowledge and insights necessary to understand the current context, strategically plan for the future of logistics and supply chain management in the age of intelligence automation. I think we have come to a stage where from siloed approach and systems to an integrated approach, and where we are going to get the full benefit is what we are going to explore today. And this year's theme being the Smart Logistics Trinity, how AI, robotics, and data, all the three are very critical. All of us are using it. There are many use cases that in the run-up to this event, we were talking with Dr. Ganesh of McKinsey, how it's really changing the life of warehouses and supply chain management in a closed environment. There are many things that are really shaping logistics and supply chain, and in the next 5 years, it's going to be very interesting. And it's also going to be a sustainable supply chain that will provide for not only cost and efficiency, but also for agility and also for the way things are evolving in this VUCA world. When things are not very, the geopolitics and things outside our control are making these changes, how do we really utilize these technologies and the interconnectedness to get the benefit is what I think the experts will be discussing today. And we request all of you to participate in this, and all of us will share our knowledge and gain from this. The three topics that is going to be discussed today are navigating robust technologies for warehouse automation, unlocking supply chain agility with IoT and predictive insights, and the future of transportation, which is the automotive vehicles, EV, and the intelligent transport management systems. May I now request Dr. Ganesh, member CII National Committee on Logistics and partner McKinsey & Company, to deliver his theme address on the future of industrial automation, headed for a tipping point. Over to you, Dr. Ganesh.
I'll operate this way. It's fine. Thanks, Mr. Shankar. Very good morning. So it's very privileged and glad to be here. Third edition. I think the first edition when we started, we were thinking whether we'll have a full room of people to kind of come for a star. I think I would call it as a star, right? The summit on technology, automation, robotics, right? I think the star is now glowing. I've seen like 40, 50 people in the first edition. Now I've seen like 80 plus. I think the topic is very important. It's growing. The paramount growth I've seen in the last 3 years is great. So very glad to be here to kind of run the show on the third edition, right? Very good morning, dignitaries on the dais and all the industrial experts and people on the floor. I think it's my privilege to introduce a theme today, as Mr. Shankar mentioned. This automation is growing. It's actually evolving in all sectors, in almost all the areas in supply chain, not only from a logistics and warehouse angle, even in planning angle also is evolving. How the tech automation is evolving in terms of each and every area is like paramount importance for the industry and for the sectors, right? Probably for the next 5-6 minutes, my idea is to kind of introduce what is the relevance of this topic and how this is evolving and what are the key trends evolving in this sector, and also like what are the barriers today we need to kind of overcome that. I think that's my intention to kind of introduce for the next 5 minutes. And also it's privileged to introduce Wolfgang, who actually come all the way from Europe. I think let's learn from you, Wolfgang. I think I know India as a country, we are embarking this journey of automation, but we really wanted to hear from you as a developed nation, the Western world, how this is evolving, how we have seen the move from a pilot to the rollout. I think that's where we do a lot of POCs, we do a lot of pilot, but how you guys success yourself in a rollout, we want to hear from you, and thanks for coming all the way from Europe. Our idea is to kind of not only hear from Indian context, from an Asia context, but also hear from the Western world, how they are actually transforming this and what they do today, I think, to really make it scalable, to really make it rollable, right? So I think that's where I think our intention to bring somebody from a developed nation to hear the success stories, right? And the second, before I go to the topic, Dr. Banda, I think we started this white paper, AI readiness. Probably we should go for an AI maturity. I think the AI as a topic is evolving everywhere. So today I think we are privileged to have a joint white paper report with CII on AI readiness. How this is AI readiness happening in automation and robotics. The white paper will release today. I think very privileged to introduce that concept of readiness. You can measure yourself. The scale is going to come, as Shankar mentioned. You can measure yourself. What is your readiness level in AI and Gen AI and agentic AI? This report will give you what is happening in the world of supply chain from the AI point of view. I think that's going to be a fabulous white paper for all of you to kind of get to know where you are. Now I move to the next, my content today. How the future look like and what does the future look like, and is it heading for a dipping point, right? I probably start with the relevance, right? What is the relevance of the technology solutions today? If you ask me the question, yes, we have run a survey. From a survey, you see the percentage, right? 69 versus 31. I think almost like the importance of tech solution on the shop floor today is almost like 69, 70%. But the prevalence in future is definitely going to move to 94%. That's, I think, the people who are embarking a journey, you should actually feel proud. So the relevance is huge. The industrial automation solution, today the global market size is under $1 billion. And the CAGR growth is every year is almost like 17, 18%. I think that's great. Both from a user aspect, from a provider aspect, I think it's a great area to kind of focus. So relevance is huge, number one. Given the relevance, what are the trends just evolving today in the overall automation point of view, right? I think this slide is going to give you a fabulous view. What are the top 10 key trends evolving in the automation, right? And some actually maturity level, some actually catching it up. But if you see the 10 trends, what I put in the slide today, Cybersecurity is already evolving with a great maturity. That is one important tech which is evolving in automation point of view. You've seen both from a user and provider point of view, you see the perceived amount of automation, right? I think for user industry also is very high. So that is, I think, in each and every area, the data security is very important. That's where cybersecurity as an overall trend, which is very critical from a relevant of automation, number one. The programmable logic controller, PLC, is also one of the important area which is evolving, but maturity level is little lower. And the third element is not a biggest technology, but I think how we can standardize warehouses, how we can standardize logistics setup, that kind of automation, the simplification and the standardization, that is also like evolving as one of the important trend, right? Then how do we modularize the automation aspect of modularization? I think how we can actually bring the modularization is one of the important area to kind of focus. The twin, which is either your warehouse twin or your logistics twin. I think that as an overall automation tech, which is evolving very well, right? People actually bring a network twin or a warehousing twin or a logistics twin so that you can actually try and do a simulation in your twin. I think that is other area which is evolving. Then the robotics. I think that is one of the important topic today. The teacherless robotics maturity level is lower, but I think definitely it's the CAGR point of view. What you've seen is like almost 20-25%. I think that is also evolving in the last 2-3 years. The cloud, additive manufacturing, and the 5G, the low code and no code setup. These are the top 10 technology trends evolving, which is relevant to the industrial automation. What are the archetypes of the people? Okay, I think once we know the trend, we also want to understand the archetypes, right? So I'm going to introduce archetype in terms of 3 aspects. One is, what do you see in the left-hand side? These are some of the user interface, right? And you see the 4 different columns. One is the hyperscalers who actually really move to a big hyperscale point of view. That is one archetype. Second is automation player. The third is your software player. The last one is the small specialized player, right? Now, if you see the user interface point of view, right, I think the important point to notice, yes, the hyperscaler who actually kind of bring the hyperscale aspect of automation, they actually focus especially on your cloud, IoT platform, and all the applications. Those areas, actually, they are fabulous. They have a strong presence and they have a fabulous presence. That is actually from hyperscaler point of view. Second, from an automation player, they are not there on the cloud and IoT, but they are very strong in terms of the machines, hardware, interfaces. I think that's where I think automation players are evolving. So I think that's very clear. The third, software player is one of the archetype. So again, their relevance is on those IoT and applications and systems solution. There, I think the software players are actually playing a vital role. There are small specialized player, the niche player, they actually playing a key role in embedded software and few application setup. I think that's where the 4 different archetypes is evolving in the industrial automation market. And people actually converging their offering, right? Why I'm putting this slide? Because there are different preferences from the user. The next slide going to tell about the preference. From a user and from a provider point of view, you will see the preference, right? I think I'm going to introduce 2 scenarios. One is somebody going to start a greenfield automation. How the scenario look like, how the preference look like. Somebody do a brownfield setup of automation, how it look like. I think that's what you see in front of you is you see a greenfield and brownfield you're going to see. I'm going to introduce a greenfield now. In the greenfield aspect, you see 2 different sections. Automation user and automation player, right? And the preferences, the first, second, third, and fourth preference, right? Let's talk about user. I'll come to the player later point of time. Talk about the user, right? Automation user industry, right? The first preference goes to specialized small players. So our survey clearly indicates it's not with a hyperscaler, not with automation player, but small specialized player are preferred more by the user. That's the first preference, right? Either from a discrete industry or from a process industry. Then the second preference goes to a hyperscaler, not with automation player, who actually kind of scale the entire setup, hyperscaler. The third preference goes to the automation player, and the last is software player, right? So that way, I think the user industry is very clear. They actually go for a niche, small, specialized player to kind of bring the automation. I think that's very clear, right? Now, from a provider point of view, I think you look at from the provider point of view, the second section in the slide, what you see in the right-hand side, their automation player, they really want to collaborate more with, the first preference for them, I think, is with the, from the small player itself, right? They also like, yeah, I just join hands with small player, small specialist player, and then bring the offering from our side. I think that's where I think the small specialist player actually are ruling the game. Post hyperscalers are actually evolving. I think that is from the green field. Now I think let's look at from the brownfield aspect. The brownfield, I think I actually have a setup done. I want to really automate the current setup, the brownfield setup. There the hyperscalers score the highest from user industry. So hyperscalers who actually really want to bring the, the full-fledged automation setup, they actually score heavy, right? So post that, I think the automation players score it from a discrete manufacturing. So that way, I think the preferences are actually with the two important player in the market. One is a small specialized player and hyperscaler, right? Now, what are the use cases evolving? In the next 1 minute, I want to kind of give you the use cases, what is evolving in this automation setup, right? I think I want to put this in a 2x2 matrix. What you see is, you see the variation of manufacturing. That is actually one of the axis. The other axis is actually the orientation of the application, right? When you see this, there are 3 different segments evolving. One is process manufacturing segment, that is very clear. The second is actually a discrete manufacturing segment, and third is hybrid, right? Some industry really focus on, the variations are very huge. The manufacturing variations are very huge, but the application orientation is like continuous. They have to do it every 6 months and every 9 months. I think that's where I think hybrid structure comes along, where the variations are very, very huge, but the application orientation is like discrete, and that's where your discrete manufacturing player coming along, right? So that way, I think use cases are evolving across all industries, right? Either from a process point of view, or hybrid point of view, or from a discrete point of view. Now, a double click of a discrete, if you see the next slide, discrete manufacturing, you look at from a 2 different dimension. One is from a, your x-axis is on the lot size. The lot, I think, is very important, right? The average lot size. Your y-axis is on the variations of manufacturing. There are 3 different sections or segments evolving. One is on the small lot manufacturing. That is one particular segment. The second is on the mass customized production, and third is the high volume production. So the 3 different segment evolving in a discrete manufacturing setup. What are the use cases? What are the use cases? I probably put a 2 different industry sectors so that you get a sense of it, right? What you see, the left is on the automotive, right is on the consumer electronic, right? I think there are fabulous use cases evolving in every industry. I'm put up only for a 2 industry. At least from automation, automotive industry point of view, you will see like a lot of use cases evolving, right? One is from the PLC point of view, other is from the robotics point of view, from automotive industry, right? Same thing from a consumer electronics, also high volume industry. The digital twin, the consumer electronics actually is more of a high volume. So the digital twin, either from a warehouse or a logistics point of view, the automation is evolving a lot. So these are the use cases evolving, friends, today. I think today the theme is to address all of these use cases, all of the player market, how this is evolving from a logistics and warehousing angle. And definitely the panel is going to discuss about a lot of barriers as well. I think from our survey, what we learned from the barrier aspect, right? I think there are 2 or 3 important barriers. One is capabilities, the right talent of people. I think that is one of the important area to focus. Second is on the security concern, which is especially from a data security or a cyber security point of view. These 2 are the biggest barrier for the industrial automation industry, either from a user point of view or a player point of view. Definitely we need to kind of work upon these 2 aspects, at least from a capability of people and then the data security concerns. And I know one of the important areas is also like how do we kind of look at the business use cases, right? Because every industry has to come with the right business use case. That is also one of the barrier. I cannot actually automate everything, right? I need to bring a right intelligent use case for every industry point of view. So there is also people really want to go for a big game or a big bang setup. I think that won't work. We have to pick up the right use cases and then implement the automation effectively. Then I think things would work out. I think that's where I think I thought to kind of give a brief about the theme of the day from a relevance, from a key trends evolving, and from the barriers where you have to overcome. All the very best for all of you, and this is going to be a fabulous learning for the entire day. Leverage the opportunity. Now I call upon Wolfgang to kind of share his thoughts, what's happening in the Western world and what we are doing. So with this, I end my note. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. Good to be back. I would like to use the next 10-15 minutes to give a very initial introduction on how tech can enable really transformations in the warehousing area, share a bit on some scaling, maybe also some novel technologies happening in the warehousing area, and also the key challenges that we experience in our work in terms of really bringing the value. Because there's lots of ideas out there. It's a growing ecosystem, but there's still challenges really making it from an initial business case and an idea into really bringing the impact down to the bottom line. When we run our logistics tech surveys around the world, we see clearly that the technology is gaining more and more importance. So the feedback that we're getting is that investments into logistics are either increasing a lot or minimum staying at the current level in terms of what companies are spending. So the budgets and also the share of CapEx that is being allocated into logistics is growing. We also see that if we look at what we call foundational technologies, so standard technologies like transportation management system, warehouse management systems, they are really now being used at scale all around the world. So you will barely find companies who are not using these foundational technologies. So the question is now, especially also in the whole world of AI and Gen AI. Oh, thank you. What's the next wave? What are the new technologies that can come in, both on the automation side, but also on the digitization side? How can we be smarter? What we do, how we do it? And the key challenge that's still being faced, and that will not go away, is all about ROI. How can I get my money back? The world is getting more agile. A few years ago, 5 years was not a problem. Now many of our clients are down to 4 years or even less when they need to get the money back. Because there's only limited pool available, business uncertainty is growing and growing, so how much can you really put into a stationary setup? And there's also ways how to deal with that. If you look at it from the vendor side, we clearly see, as also mentioned by Dr. Ganesh before, the market is growing. The whole automation is on the way up, and that's really driven a lot by the consumers, but also by B2B business. So e-commerce, grocery, strong growth, really to have more fulfillment, more granular, and especially faster fulfillment. Now, when we think about what does warehouse automation mean, we may start with a pallet ASRS, an automation system. We have cranes and we move pallets somewhere. That's very well managed and very mature. When I started endeavoring in this space a bit more than 10 years ago, some technologies which are now very common used, I put out here. What we now see already very much at scale is AGVs, clear benefits. You can put them into existing facilities, you can lease them, which has a huge benefit on your business case, and you're very flexible. You now have business models in the AGV space where you get them for your peak days, and then later you can move them out somewhere else. So you only pay for what you need. You can flexibly adjust them if your picking profile changes, change your AGVs. Another technology which we see very much at scale already is voice-directed picking. You make a picker much more productive. They don't have the scanner anymore they need to use all the time. And if you think about the hardware, it's not that expensive. It's a headset, it's a control station. The biggest challenge typically is the Wi-Fi. Do I have always good Wi-Fi connection? And then you can scale it. You need to once tailor it to your business, and then you can roll it out across warehouses. Another one, which is also now being widely used, is smart bins to really have a very good transparency, which stock do I have. For some industries, that's not an issue. All of their WMS managed stocks are always where they are. But where you have these challenges, especially on non-quantified goods, that is very helpful. And last but not least, the idea of drones. Well, drones are not picking at the moment, but what they are being used a lot is to detect things inside and outside the warehouse. We have several clients who have drones flying around, for example, also on the yard. Imagine you have empty pallets standing on the yard, or empty crates, containers, and regularly need to check, do I still have this amount? Did also the empties coming back, are they the right qualities? And you often have them in a block storage. You don't even see what's the second, third row. And with drones, they can fly over it, they can move by it any time of the day, and you don't even disrupt existing operations. And these technologies, for many of our clients, are already broadly in use. And also when we do our warehouse automation maturity assessment, we clearly see that these technologies are out there, have proven themselves. I want to now share 4 technologies that we believe will be growing a lot in the next 5 years, 5 to 10, some earlier, some later. Meaning they are now in a pilot phase. Some already have initial deployment areas, and that will be very interesting to follow them closely and see also what this could mean for your businesses. The first one you've probably heard a lot about is picking. The picking challenge, how much can a robot pick, which percentage is out there for a long time. Recently, in the past 2 years, significant changes. And it's a lot also about camera recognition. Where can I grab which item? The second one is using camera recognition to identify what's going on the shop floor. We have cameras around us every day, every life, but in the warehouse, we're still busy scanning all the time. Why? When can we finally move, and how do the business cases look for that? The third one, which is already being used a lot in specific use cases, is a digital twin. Meaning the whole setup I have on my shop floor, I have a digital replica, and the benefit is I can test different designs before they actually happen, and I can also simulate my current operations. I will share an example of how that's currently being done. And the last one, where I'm personally very excited about, but that's probably more on the 10-year horizon, is humanoids. We are thinking, well, there's so many humanoid presentations all around the world. When do they finally start moving boxes? When are we going to get there? What's stopping us? And I want to share a little bit on what's happening in that space. When we think about robotic picking, the development we've seen is that there are some products you can easily just grab. And then when you implement those, you identify, well, so many of my products I cannot grab. They fall down. And then the whole process breaks, because then you don't have the space, and you need to have all of the manual work again. And then you see many robot arms which all of a sudden have 9 or 20 suction cups to somehow have a higher grab rate. What we see is that there's now new technologies out there which allow to grab also more complicated items. For example, if you take a look here, these are not the most easiest ones you would imagine. And we see now here a suction header, which is able to initially, first attempt, grab a various variety of products. And the picking challenge always had two elements. You need to grab the product and you need to place it somewhere. And the placement often is even more complicated because you need to identify what's already in the box. It's not as trivial as you may think. And especially with AI technologies, you can now even have fruits being picked and carefully placed without damaging them. That's something which really came very recently out and can bring, especially in North America and Europe, lots of new use cases, and especially in the grocery segment would be a big change. So that one I will definitely see happening a lot in here. The second thing, which is also being very much used a lot, is confirming tasks in picking with a camera. So even if you use voice picking, you still have to say your confirmation number. You have to say, well, you want to make sure the picker picked the right product, so you still need 2 seconds where the person then says 48 or 36, just to confirm he picked the right product. And what we see here is also picking in grocery. And this person is picking completely scan or speechless. So he's really just focusing on picking and building these roll cages, which then go out to the supermarkets. And the way we confirm what he has picked and that it's the right thing is by having a camera sitting on top of this cart to then confirm, did he pick the right product? Did he place it correctly? Was it the right quantity? And this way the productivity increases significantly because this person is really just focusing on what the human in this case is good at, grabbing very different items, from a Coke 6-pack to sugar and flour and all the different things that you find in a grocery. Now that's in a very limited setup. You have a camera and it has a very clear area to monitor. What we are seeing happening now is that you can monitor whole warehouses with just a few cameras. With the recent progress with NVIDIA servers, you don't even need fancy cameras. You can have this whole computing being done still on the warehouse, not in the cloud, still on premise, to have a high very short latency and high performance. And with this information, you can have pallet moves, loading, unloading, confirming if a driver is stepping outside the boundaries, all monitored. And the beautiful thing is, it's relatively low capex because you need a camera, a few. These cameras can, as you can see here, cover quite a good area in terms of square meters. You need a server, and of course you need the digital capabilities. You need to process it and you need to plug it back into your double warehouse management system. Where this is already being used in combination is the next point, which is around digital twins. And the idea is, for example, if you currently look into AGVs, how they are operating at a pallet level, you have this problem of AGVs typically have half the speed of a manual pallet truck. And you need to have space. You need to have like 20, 30 centimeters both sides, so you often end up with separate pathways for your pallet AGVs and for the human-operated powered pallet trucks. Now, if you have a digital twin, which is connected to your camera recognition, you can simulate where should the AGV go to avoid the human operations the least. Where should we go to have the least traffic jams? Another way where also the digital twin can help is determining how to adjust the warehouse setup. What is a very common issue is that we design a warehouse and then the world changes. more SKUs, different products, different orders. And with a digital twin, we can simulate the changes before we actually then deploy them in the shop floor. Because changing the warehouse layout, that's putting down my business for a few days. And this can be done for rather simple pallet and case pick operations, but the more complex the warehouse becomes, if you think about omni-channel, different flows, different types of orders you're fulfilling, then it gets even more complicated. And if you have somewhere a conveyor which is not bringing the throughput, because maybe your reject rate is too high, then your whole process throughput of your warehouse goes down. Now, this may seem like it's a very big solution. Lots of effort creating the whole digital replica. What we see 90% of the digital twins do is they focus on a particular use case. For example, in this situation here, the throughput had increased a lot at the client's warehouse, but because we were in a legacy setup, we didn't have more docks. And what we then use the digital twin for is to get much more throughput following the growth and the more volume they were handling with the same number of docks, which then requires a very detailed scheduling. When does which truck needs to go where? When can they enter the premise? Where do I assign them to? How do I make sure that all the products are ready so the truck gets loaded quickly and then goes off again? And that's in a very particular use case. That's one example. And we see 90% of the digital twins focusing on a certain area. A topic where I believe there's still a bit of way to go, but it's starting to happening is humanoids. And if you think about it, the idea is beautiful. I mean, there's so much happening in the space. And the idea of flexibly deploying and changing in warehousing, that's old. But then you may have high costs to develop the prototype. You may have flooring, which cannot cope with the typical AGVs, AMRs. A humanoid doesn't have all these problems. And if you would get them at scale very soon, well, lots of opportunities arise. And we are seeing that there's first development happening exactly in this area. So now you see the very big players, right? Large 3PLs, also Amazon is growing in that space. So it's still going to take a while until it's going to hit a bit more the scaling side of things, but it's starting to happening, and there are clear cases out there where there's investment and piloting and also really first use cases being happening. It's still in a experimenting phase. So it's more about really the early innovators who are going into this area, but it's something to be closely followed because once it takes off, there's going to be a whole new universe in terms of vendors, use cases, and how to deploy them. So GXO and Agility Robots is one example. Another one, of course, Amazon is also looking into that space. Now, I talked a lot about tech. I also want to quickly explain the challenges that we see on the transformation side of things. My personal challenge, and that's also what our learning teams are confirming, is if I read a book or see an internet article on LinkedIn or somewhere, I forget it very quickly. And especially after more than a month, my memory of what I've done some weeks, some months ago, goes down a lot. Unless if I'm doing it. If I'm coming here, if I'm exploring things, if I'm touching them firsthand, that's when I really start to understand it. If I explain it to a colleague, if I share it, that's what we see is often the crucial thing. The skilling of the workforce, building the capabilities of the people. The upskilling, because if you think about a warehouse, often it's entry-level jobs and people who have developed from there with more training on the job education. But this upskilling is important, and we see it also in the numbers. So also the clients that we work with, where we then evaluate how successfully they perform, and also if you look at outside data, you can see it in the numbers. And the biggest questions we also get is not around what can be the greatest technologies, what are the novelties, but it's all around how do we make sure it sticks. And that's one of the biggest challenges that we see. That's a quick glimpse. If you have any questions, any follow-ups, then please always feel free to reach out. Very excited to be here. And then handing over.
Thank you, Dr. Mr. Wolfgang Flescher, for your very insightful presentation on warehouse automation, how the legacy systems have got adopted very well, which is the TMS and WMS, and how the new age systems are getting adopted as well. Now I request Mr. Umesh Madhyan, member of CII National Committee on Logistics and COO of Leap India, to present.
Morning, logisticians. Morning, stars. So, thank you so much for teleporting us to Germany, Mr. Wolfgang. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ganesh, for making us realize that we fall in the hyper category of implementing tech and IT and automation. So, tech, my favorite subject for people who know me. I have been implementing tech for the last about at least 10 to 15 years. I have been doing loading solutions which load a truck in less than 3 minutes manlessly with touch of a button. Doing ASRSs which transform complicated business operations of 350 people, 300,000 square feet into about 100,000 square feet, less than 45 people. So let's start with a story. This is where the rubber hits the road. We heard a lot of future and a lot of theory on how to do it, what to do it. I'll start with a story maybe. Yes, I don't have PPTs. It's me, the PPT. So here's how it begins. In 2016, we started learning about ASRSs, on how exactly could we transform a large operation, about 406 pallets per hour, about 10,000 bottles per minute production, large facility of Asia. How do we get into something which is very safer, which is very reliable, very sustainable, very fast, and also very safe for our people? How do we get into that space? And we realized that ASRS is some such solution which we can start. So that's back in 2016 when we launched our first ASRS with, in the west part of India in Ahmedabad. And that was about 55th ASRS of India at that point in time. There were about 54 ASRSs, largely for very different reasons like pharma, where you have the rental cost per square feet very high because of conditioning, etc., etc. But not because of speed. So it was too scary and too new to start for all of us. And then we ventured into it. We built a case. I realized that I had to shut 9 warehouses to make that happen. To make sure that the cost justifies, how do I invest into that much of capex, how do I justify the P&L, the ROI. So for west of India, I shut down 9. I bought a land next to the manufacturing facility. And we started building a large ASRS. And in about 12 to 13 months, we were ready. 406 pallets per hour. Lot of pressure in terms of making sure everything is accurate. We are Indians, right? So we are not learned to have a business without a plan B or a backup. It's too scary for us when your CEO asks you, "Agar nahi chalega to kya karega?" What if that pallet gets stuck inside? What the hell will you do? What if I want to check the quality and I need to just randomly take a pallet out? So all these silly requests, you take care and you build a solid solution and then you implement. And it worked fine. We needed 45 people there. And I started working on it on how exactly do I make it more optimized and a better version of full automation. Why semi-automation? Why do I still need about 45 people, 15 people a shift to still run it? So I did another one in Sanand, followed by another one in Khurda, followed by another one in Siliguri, followed by another one in Hyderabad. And eventually, when I exited my last organization in December, we were able to launch ASRS in Telangana, which was a green field, about 60,000 pallet positions, about more than 500 pallets per hour. I am a believer strongly for single touch logistics. I don't believe a lot of hub and spoke, so I would like to serve my customer from where I produce. So, but that creates complication because you have more SKUs per pallet, you need to do layering, you need to mix pallet making, and there's a lot of more complication which ideally a factory normally in India avoids because you love hub and spoke, because you would want to produce, do a pallet in, pallet out to another DC next door. They will do the break bulk and send it to the market. But I wanted to do direct. So we got into robotics, we got into KUKA, 2 of them. We made layer mixing, etc. And we were able to achieve 550 trucks per day, 1 person per shift. That's finally what has happened already. Now, this is a real story. It happens and it gives a decent payback. Of course, you need to make it very smartly end to end. You need to think about a lot of other levers. Palletization is the biggest lever. Without that, all this can't even be thought of. All what we just saw, the AGVs, end-of-the-line automations, loading automations, unloading solutions, ASRSs, storage solutions. The basic fundamental of all of this is unitizing the load. How do you unitize the load? That exactly is where the pallet comes into the picture. The basic backbone of the entire supply chain industry. And that is where we come from. LEAP is where we come from, leading enterprise of asset pooling. Right now, we work into 3 verticals. We provide pallets to almost every FMCG, pharma, and multiple industries in India. We also provide automotive packaging solutions like containers, crates, FLCs, foldable large containers, and a lot of other equipment for the OEMs to move from the OES to the OEMs and make that supply chain more robust and more safe. And the third division which we have is for renting out material handling equipments, leasing them, managing the services. All kind of MHEs which are operated in a factory, warehouse, DC, fulfillment center is what we get into. Now coming back to the ASRSs, we saw a lot of good technology, we saw a lot of impetus also by the government. The new geopolitical situation also is very, very favoring and helping Indian logistics as an industry. GST helped first. And now there's a lot of awareness of Make in India. There's a lot of sensors which are built in India. Why is still, do you think, ASRS or automation not great in India? Anyone, if you can share, what is the biggest reason why can't we implement so much automation in India still? Capital, payback, maybe also expertise you touched upon, how to run it. So this is exactly where we come in. CapEx is no more a problem. We are tying up with India's largest manufacturer of ASRS, robotics, AGVs, AMRs, and solution provider called Adverb. And we will be tying up with them all the solutions of Adverb. Instead of buying CapEx, you can give those solutions to LEAP, and LEAP will take care of how to implement them, how to install them, how to commission them, how to run them, how to manage the whole end-to-end service. So you don't need to probably put in 50 crores on a solution because capital will always be critical in a market like India because India is still growing, unlike Europe or US. your CEOs, your CFOs will still need a lot of money to implement and to install and invest into capacities to produce rather than capacities to automate. And that's exactly where LEAP comes in. That's the space we are looking at. And we are trying to lease out those solutions and make logistics, technology, automation possible in India with the kind of investments which we can do. I think it'll help everybody end to end. It's around the pallet, it's before the pallet, and it's after the pallet. So this is the special announcement which we had to make through this forum, that Adverb and LEAP come together to provide solutions for all the technology problems of India, both capital and expertise. Whatever solution you want from them, you just get a lease quote, and we run it for you. That's my time. Thank you so very much. Looking forward to a great session.
Thank you, Umesh, for talking about how you have automated in your organizations earlier and how LEAP as an organization can help in the journey of automation through leasing solutions and taking the CapEx out of the table of organizations. Thank you so much. May I now request Ms. Sapna Kapoor to please talk to us. Just as an introduction, Ms. Sapna Kapoor is the State Information Officer for Maharashtra National Informatics Center, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. And before that, we have to release the first copy of the Artificial Intelligence Readiness in Engineering Enterprises.
So, a very good morning to everyone. So, I think I am the one who is very different from even the speakers and the audience perspective, because I come from a government organization. I belong to Ministry of IT. So, I am a state head here in Maharashtra, and I won't say that we are the technology partner of government. We are now the primary technology partner to the government, because now we have so many players in the market, so much is happening in the space. 30 years back, we were the only technology partner to the government at all level. Maybe it is a center or a state or a district, but now we are more into, like, so much is happening around. We give consultancy to the departments, like which solution they really need to pick up, which solution really fits in our requirement, because so much is happening. It is very tough to pick the things and then fit in our requirement. So the requirement of the government is to deal with the citizens at the first priority, and also with the employees within the government. So I tried to fit in myself into this agenda. I'll take you through my presentations, but I may talk about something which may be very new to some of us. So everybody knows, like in the supply chain, what disruptions are happening, maybe because of the geopolitical situations, or maybe because of the climate disruptions or inefficiencies. So I would like to talk about more of inefficiencies from our perspective here. We have found that inefficiencies majorly happens when there is lack of integration. So you pick up a system, maybe our public distribution system. We have fair price shops, everything is automated, Aadhaar based, everything is happening. But till now they are not traceable, and they are not linked with the inventory system. So lack of integration leads to a lot of inefficiencies. That is where Sarkar is now. We are now, earlier, like, some of the speakers referred to, we were working in silos. So this is no longer an era where we can work in silos. We have to integrate, we have to talk to each other. Data, no doubt, is powerful, but only if it is correct and if it is shared with other stakeholders. NIC, the National Informatics Center, from which the organization which I belong to, we are the major custodian of data. That is why our DG, who is also heading the India AI mission, so we have been given the responsibility to share the data in the right format so that the data sets to train the engines, they can be utilized. So we are the custodians of the data, and also we are the first one who are going to face the DPDP Act once it rolls out, because we have now a lot of data. We have to minimalize the data. We have to really find out what actually is required, where to keep it, how to keep it, how secure to keep it. So cyber security, we are the first one. We are sitting on the volcano of that data. So connecting the three. So I can talk more about data and AI. So what our mandate is now becoming is, like, we have a lot of data. Now we have to make intelligent, we always say, take the informed decision. So how do I take that informed decision? Once I know that this is the correct data which will help me to derive knowledge out of it. So we are building up some of our algorithms and models, like we have a lot of file system in our organizations. So we have a e-file system. Everything now, we don't have those physical files which flow from one table to another or one ministry to another. So we have put these three things together in our e-office system, which is like, once the file come to me, it is a digitized format. Suppose I have 100 of files. Based on the previous learning and the data I have, we have a, I won't say it is a robo, it is an auto forwarding system. So if I receive, suppose 500 files, which come into my inbox, my e-office system, based on the AI model which we have made, it reads and categorizes them and auto forwards them to the respective officers and the ministries. So this is how government is going to use the data and the AI and the robotics in their working space area. Everybody knows this, a lot of talk on this, how AI in logistics has helped us to move from chaos to clarity. So I won't talk much about it. Robotics, as far as we have seen these examples. Maybe it is an example of Amazon, or we just saw that Tesla's example. So all these examples, but now they are in a very, as far as I think, maybe I am not aware of what is actually happening in this industry. We are at a very initial stage, especially in India. So maybe for the different reasons. This is where we stand now, like the data, which is the foundation of the smart logistics, right? So the real time, now somebody says that there is a real time data coming in. The morning we were discussing. Then they asked that, what are you doing with that data? They said, we are not doing anything. It is flowing in, but we are not doing anything. We in Ministry of IT, now we are using this real time data to secure our data from, if there is we have a command and control centers which are driven by this data, and they drive the cyber security fundamentals from this data. If we see the change in patterns, we have automated systems which can shut down our critical infrastructure, which can disconnect our critical infrastructure from the mainstream. So the real-time data, I think we have started really using it, and we are promoting different departments of government to use this data in the real time. It has to be predictive. There is a carbon track. Everybody has the targets. The data should be measurable. It should be well connected. Again, another phase where Government of India is working, that we are working on connected data. Now we have a open data platforms where the data which belongs to each of the ministry, they have to put their data, and the rights has to be given to the data owners or the other stakeholders, so that they can use this data to come up with the solutions which will help government in making the best use of the data which they are having the custody. Visibility, obviously it will come. Once the data is there, intelligence is there, we are getting it real time, the visibility has started coming in, especially in the government also. Lastly, Saksham Bharat 2030, we have the targets. We want to be in the top 10, and this is where our digital infrastructure is coming in. mighty as our ministry also. They are they are also backing up this target, which is in front of all of us. So this is something like we call, let us raise. Raise means we have to use robotics. Maybe initial stage we have to adopt AI. See, in government, what is happening is, in the morning we were discussing, AI is now saleable. Now every department, everywhere they say put some AI flavor anywhere so that the product looks smarter. So now our PDS, we named it Smart PDS. Our e-hospital, we named it Next Gen e-hospital. Just because we have put an element of AI, required or not required, just to give the feel that it is there. So see, we have to see that whatever products we make for e-governance, they should also be in parallel with the market or the industry, what it is happening, right? Integration of data, we are very poor in it right for now. I mean, even the data which belongs to a particular department, we as custodian feel very powerful when they write to us. Then we say, okay, we will take some time, we will take a dump. So now integration of data as a policy of Ministry of IT, we are going to make it on an open data policy. Like all the data which is there, it may or may not come in public domain, but it will go to the right stakeholders. Sustainability, everyone's challenge, and expecting disruptions. Now you see whether, today also all our neighboring countries, maybe it is a weather or it is a change in their regime or something. So all these disrupts our trade, our trade route, our logistics. So we have to be aware of everything. That is where the technology comes in. So with the technology, we can foresee, maybe we can predict, and then we can be we have to be more agile. Now my organization, so we feel we are more agile because we know we work with government. So they may say, you make this, let this happen, and the next day it can be the other strategy. So that way industry has to also be more agile like we are. So let us raise the points we just discussed. India's logistic ecosystem to global leadership. The future belongs to those who raise the bar, and that is what we should all look forward for. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Sapna Kapoor. We are coming to the formal end of the inauguration session. We had very good four eminent speakers. Dr. Ganesh first spoke about the industrial automation and how the new trends are taking place in the industrial automation area. And he also gave what are the use cases, how data security and how the availability of talent is determining how the adoption is taking place. We had Mr. Wolfgang Fleischer. He gave very good insights on how the automation is there in the Western world. He spoke about the legacy systems, the WMS, TMS, and also about the new age systems that are being adopted. And very good information we got on robots, camera recognition, digital twin, and the humanoid, which is slightly ahead of its time. We got some use cases and experiments of how it's really improving, and he also gave data to support how they have improved productivity. Then we had a very nice presentation or a talk by Umesh. He spoke about how the whole changes in the ASRS system, automated storage and retrieval systems, have changed productivity, and also how LEAP as an organization is able to make these investments on behalf of customers so that you convert your CapEx into OpEx and people get the benefit of ROIs and they're able to get whether it's the leasing assets or whether it's the storage assets or it's the packaging assets from organizations such as LEAP. Then finally, we had a very interesting talk and presentation by Ms. Sapna Kapoor. She spoke about how the government is completely transforming the way they are doing citizen services and how they are managing business or managing their workflow within their organization, starting from the the e-filing systems, the AI usage of it, how automatic workflows are sent, and how the importance is getting generated from these workflows. And also she spoke about how the readiness of the government, the race for the logistics policy so that we are able to achieve the goals in 2020. She spoke about robotics, AI, integration, sustainability, and how expecting disruptions are a way of life, and how government, with such huge amount of data, I think the amount of data that the government has will be far, far higher than what any organization could have, and how they are garnering themselves in this world. So it's going to be an interesting day, the trinity of AI, robotics, and automation, and I'm sure the forthcoming speakers are also going to give a lot of their insights and valuable use cases and valuable implementations which will enrich all of you. Thank you very much, and thank you, panel, for being here today.